This is Things Police See, First-Hand Accounts, with your host, Steve Gould.
Hey guys, welcome to the podcast that interviews active and retired police officers about their most intense, bizarre, and sometimes humorous moments on the job. I'm your host, Steve Gould. Thanks for being here, guys. I still read that intro every time. I don't want to get it wrong. Thank you for being here, guys. Thank you for rating, reviewing. Thank you for being loyal followers. I want to thank right off the top, I want to do roll call, and I want to thank the donors, the people that keep the lights on, that keep this going. I love you guys. You're the best. So let's get that done. Yeah, I want you to get down with your bad self because you deserve it. You deserve it. Tony Fahey, Corey Payne, Jacob Ruth, Carmen East, Rich Emery, William James Ong of William James Ong Investigations, Samantha Harper, the great Gary Steiner, Richard Wilson, Scott O'Donnell, David Diaz, Timothy Wright. Thank you guys. You guys are the best. I appreciate you. I've been looking at the donor model that I have recently, and I've been thinking maybe to switch it to Patreon in an effort to maybe offer people who do support the show something extra. I'm not sure what that would look like, but if you think that's would be a good idea, if that works for you, shoot me a message and let me know your thoughts on that. So today we have once again our sponsor, LifeSpot app. LifeSpotApp.com. LifeSpot was created from real-life critical incident experience. It is an inexpensive, simple-to-use smartphone app that will undoubtedly save the lives of many. LifeSpot solves 5 major challenges of an active shooter/active threat event. Response time is cut by several minutes. The app notifies all staff members, law enforcement, EMS, 911, and command staff that there's a threat at a school, church, or business in less than 8 seconds. Incredible product. It cuts through all the BS when an emergency happens, when a critical incident is going down. It gives immediate communication directly to law enforcement, and when 911 lines are busy, it's given out to law enforcement agencies in your community for free, so they have it. Could not have been started or could not be run by a better, more qualified person. You can see his resume. You can hear his resume in episode number 81. Brett Titus. Who better than a 20-plus year veteran of the Denver Police Department who was full-time SWAT almost his whole career. The guy knows critical incidents, and he knows what he's doing, and that's why LifeSpotApp.com is growing exponentially. He showed me the numbers on it, and I said, good Lord, that is good for you, sir. That is awesome. If you want to know more about it or request a demo, you can go to LifeSpotApp.com and request it there, or you can reach out directly to Brett Titus. So his email is brett@lifespotApp.com, brett@lifespotApp.com. Reach out to Brett. Super, super cool guy. Like I said, he was episode number 81, and the guy's as qualified. He knows what he's doing, and he's got one hell of a product. So reach out to Brett and get it done. Make your corporation, church, school, business just much, much safer, and give your employees peace of mind that way. So, episode number 85, the big 85. We got an Irishman on here, which I like, because you can tell I'm a little bit Irish myself. This young man, 25 years as a Philadelphia police officer, never had a Philly guy. First Philly guy. He retired a sergeant. He was in the Undercover detective unit in the Narcotics Special Operations Division, and he is the author of the hit police novel, The Long Last Out. Let's give a warm welcome to Michael Riley. Sir, Mike, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Oh, my pleasure entirely. I'm honored that you're on here. Is it Mike or Michael?
Mike.
Mike's cool. All right, we're not fancy here. All right. Yeah, I hear you. I'm Steve. People call me Steve, and it's like, ooh, that's too much. Too many syllables.
That's right.
Very cool. So you were Philly. I got to tell you about. It's one of those cities. I've been cross country a few times, and I was always like, I'm gonna stop in Philadelphia, and we didn't do it either time, and I really, really regret it. I had a buddy stationed in the Coast Guard there for years. Fell in love with Philly. He loves it. He lived in the old part. I guess
old city.
Old city. Yeah. You know, he's old school dude. He plays pipes in a band, an Irish rock band, you know.
Oh yeah.
And that's big in Philly and St. Patty's. So
Oh yeah.
he just loved that city, man. But that's it's a big one. That's one of the biggest cities in our country, right? Top 5.
I would say, yeah. I mean, there it used to be, I think, 3 at one time, but other towns popped up along the way, and but it's probably about 2 million, I guess, in the metropolitan area. You know.
Yeah, that's a real deal. That's
Yeah.
that's a serious policing job. So you thought 25 years you had enough, probably.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a 51-year member of the Philadelphia Lodge 5 FOP, so I've seen a few things along the way, so to speak.
Yeah, I can only imagine.
Some of my friends says I'm 2 years older than dirt. I don't know what they mean by that, but hey.
I hear you. That's awesome, man. So what initially did you grow? First of all, are you still there? Are you still in Philly? Or are you outside somewhere?
No, I'm actually up in the Poconos. I'm in a little town called Thorpe, Pennsylvania, and it's a tourist town actually.
Wow.
Second largest or second most visited tourist destination in Pennsylvania. Gettysburg is first, and Thorpe is second. It's beautiful up here. Mountains,
Yeah.
trains, forest.
Jim Thorpe, isn't he? Wasn't he a
Jim
golfer
Thorpe.
or something? What is it?
He was a indigenous person who was a Olympic champion. If you look him up, he was
That's what he
unbelievable
was,
athlete.
an athlete.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, and the town used to be called Mock Chunk, and in the 50s they made a deal, I think, with the family and renamed the town Thorpe, to bring in the tourists, so to speak.
No kidding. What was
So,
his event?
oh, he did it all. He did the decathlon. He did everything, and then he played football, played college football and pro football. In fact, I think he was the first NFL football commissioner back
No
in the
kidding.
day.
Yeah, for some
Yeah.
that I'm that name to me is prolific, but I don't know why. So
Yeah.
I've seen it probably my whole childhood.
Oh, he was he was an amazing athlete. I mean, really an amazing athlete. So I'm up here, and I'm in a community with a lot of retired police and firefighters, and we kind of hang out. I call them the Irish Mafia. You
Yeah.
know, we hang out and do our little trips and things of that nature.
Yeah, absolutely. The Poconos are beautiful. And right out of college, I tried my hand at selling long-term care insurance
Okay,
because it was local to where I was living, and
sure.
they offered if you did really well on sales, they would send you to this trip to the Poconos.
Oh yeah,
And
that's
it
it.
always reminded me of Frank Sinatra days, going to the Poconos and all that.
Well, we're the gateway to the Poconos, is what we are.
Gotcha. I love it.
Yeah.
That's excellent. So
Lot of fun. Yeah.
you did 25 years, and you were how long were you in the undercover division for? Was that plain clothes, obviously?
Yeah, that was plainclothes undercover investigations. Approximately about 9 years altogether, off and on. And actually without made buys. I mean, we weren't the French Connection or anything of that nature. We made a couple pretty large, sizable arrests along the way, but we made a lot of street buys, and
Sure.
that's where it starts. I mean, it works on, your arrests work on information, so you
Right.
got to start somewhere. And
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
you make a street buy, you make an arrest, and you try to flip them.
Did you do a lot of those street buys? Were you the buyer a bunch?
Yes, I did. Yes, we made quite a few. Yes, quite
Wow.
a few.
That's, I
buys,
mean,
yep.
it's funny. You really got to learn that skill, or you kind of have to have it in you to be like a good actor, kind of. Like I had, like, when I first got hired, I was on midnight shifts for like 5 years. So one of our detectives was like, hey, no one really knows your face around. He was just, not a huge department. And he
Right.
goes, you work midnights, and he goes, we got some stolen property. We want someone to, go buy, and would you be willing? And it was with the state police, and I was like young. I was like, of course, yeah, this is cool. So, I wore, I was supposed to be like a painting contractor on break from a job, and so they gave they gave me a van, a construction van,
Yeah.
and I wore a Carhartt jacket and jeans, but I just felt like such a fraud. Like I just felt like it was like, this guy's gonna know. Like I even had a crew cut. He's like, just wear a hat, just wear something because your head is too coppy. But I wasn't. It was fine. It was fine. And they told me, if the only thing they know is you're showing up with a pile of money. So that's the only thing they know. So don't, if things go south, give them the money and beat feet. Forget about trying to take these guys out, or that's all crap. Just run.
Exactly.
Get in your car and get the hell out of there. So I'm like, all right, these are very experienced guys telling me this. So I'm like, all right, I'll beat feet. One of them was, he's now a captain in the state police in Massachusetts, but he said, but the best weapon they ever gave me was these sneakers. He goes, because I just run. I used to run.
Feet don't fail me now.
Exactly. But, I did it a few times for them, and it was fun and exciting and exhilarating, but I don't think I would have been good at the drug stuff. And we ended up having some part-time officer get involved, and he was fantastic at the drug stuff. Yes, he just was good with the small talk with the tweakers, and like he got right in there, and I was like, damn, he's only part-time, but that's a skill.
It is, yeah. You gotta have a touch of the Blarney. I'll say it nicely. And I was lucky enough to have a partner that we grew up together, 4 doors from one another. We went all through grade school and all through high school together, and we wound up partners working undercover together. So I played ball with him. I mean, we hung out when we were kids, and it was a perfect partnership on the street. He knew my moves, I knew his moves.
Yeah, wow, you don't get better match than that, huh?
Yeah. It just turned out it was really great. I mean, it was a great guy who made a lot of buys, and we had a lot of fun. I mean, there was some crazy things, hitting doors and things of that nature. And a guy pulled a 45 on us in a car. He's sitting in a back seat and pulls a 45, and we thought, this is it. We got made. But turns out that he just wanted to show us what's going to happen if somebody tries to encroach on his territory. So we decided, we made the buy, and we decided, okay, we got to think of something special when we go to arrest him. So we found out that he was getting married on a Saturday morning at, we'll say, 11 o'clock. Well, 10 o'clock, we knocked on his door. Now, I say we may have done him a favor. I don't know.
You did her a favor.
No, and he wasn't a happy camper. We recovered some more drugs and the 45. And but he got the message. You can't be waving 45s around. And
yeah,
but it all worked out in the end.
That's awesome. I love it, Mike. Can you take us back? Take us back to Officer O'Reilly. Young Officer O'Reilly I'm adding an O to it to make it more Irish. Riley is Irish enough.
That's right. O'Reilly.
You actually have my aunt and uncle Riley's up here in Massachusetts. They spell it differently, but
okay.
That's neither here nor there. Take us back to a young Officer Riley's first hot call. First time you really got your blood pumping.
First hot call was probably a week out of the academy. And what they do is they put you on a emergency patrol wagon with a training officer. It wasn't called a training officer, but it was an old timer that broke you in on the street. Right. And he says, look, you're not in the academy anymore. Forget what you learned there. Now you're going to really start to learn.
Classic story. Yeah.
Classic story. It's the same. We're sitting on a corner across from a high-rise housing project, and drinking coffee, and he's telling me his old-time stories. He's probably a guy that came on in the 40s, maybe even the 50s for sure, but maybe even the 40s. He was an old-timer.
Yeah.
So, and I'm saying, wow, this is the greatest job in the world. I love this job. Next thing we know, we hear gunshots. I look out the window, and here's the concrete sparking up and dusting. He throws the wagon, the gear shift in, jams the accelerator, and across the intersection we go underneath the high rise. And he says, come on, we're going in. We're going up. get on the elevator, and I'm thinking the first thing that hit my mind, I'm going like the universal cop question: what the hell am I doing here?
Yeah. So you were taking fire outside, or you saw a
We were
gun?
taking fire.
Oh,
Yeah, it was about a week after. We went up. We didn't. He got out. The shooter made his way out. The stakeout unit, or actually, they were called stakeout. They were the SWAT team. They came in and cleared the scene, but he was long gone. But
wow.
I'm thinking to myself, what did I get myself into here?
Yeah. Geez, it's like you haven't even done anything, and people are shooting at you.
Luckily he didn't hit anything. He was a bad shot, but that's okay. It
I
all
mean,
worked out.
now when that happened, when that went down, was that even for that time like kind of like a big thing? Like, oh my gosh, someone taking pot shots at a cruiser?
Not really. From the same housing project. They were high rise. They probably went up about 20 stories, 25 stories. Uh, Maybe about 6 months later, two man patrol vehicle, two officer patrol vehicle. Uh, they would have to go out to lunch one at a time. So the driver lets his partner out to go to lunch, and he's coming down the Fifth Street and got sniped right through the windshield where the partner would have been sitting. Now you
Wow.
talk about fate; that was just luck, but this happened. I mean, it was just they were crime factories. You ride by, you get bricks thrown down at you, you get whatever thrown down at you. You just had to be careful. But
Yeah.
nah, it wasn't so much unusual. I mean, it was it happened, and
Jeez, Mike, that's crazy.
yeah, yeah,
That I mean, I remember when I was a police officer on Cape Cod, we had a guy that joined our department from New York, and he worked at a mid-sized New York department, but a
yeah,
place that had the ghetto and had
yeah,
projects. And he said, he goes, you have no idea. He goes, you show up to a call or my old department. He goes, if the building's over 3 stories, they're throwing jugs of piss out the window.
oh
and
yeah,
and there's
oh
someone
yeah,
with a camera the whole
yeah,
time, following you around. And he said it's like working in
yeah,
hell. He said it's like this place
yeah.
is a paradise. This is great.
Well, if you got a call to the project, you had to send 3 cars, two officers to go in, and the third officer to watch the vehicles
Right.
downstairs. So
Right. Yeah, you don't leave
that
your
was
cruiser running and
you
go and
don't leave
grab a
your
coffee
cruiser.
there.
You come back and the wheels are gone.
My dad used to do that when my dad was a cop for 30 years, and he used to if a cop left his and he retired a lieutenant from the department, but if a cop left his car running at the donut shop or the
Yeah,
coffee shop, he'd get it and drive it around the corner. And they'd
yeah.
get in his car and leave, and they'd come out, just to bust their
Oh,
chops.
not a good feeling when that happens.
No. Especially now you got AR-15s in there, shotguns,
Oh
less than
my God,
lethal, the
yeah.
whole arsenal.
Oh, that's for sure. That's for
Oh,
sure.
damn. What year did you go through police academy?
1970, and I retired in 95. I stayed kind of in the law enforcement sector afterwards. I went to work for a pretty large school district as the school district police officer.
Oh,
And then
cool.
I went to another school district as their security director. And then from there, I went to an Ivy League university in New Jersey,
Now we're
working
talking.
for 911 center.
That's
So I've
that's
been, in one way or another, I've been in it for the last 50 years.
yeah.
And
That's
uh,
very cool, Mike. I'm curious about your academy because right now Mass is doing their little police reform dance, like a lot of states are doing. So how many hours do you go to academy? Who went here? Who went when? And
yeah,
what back in the 70s when you went? How many weeks was academy?
it was 3 months, but I went in September, and we were actually taken out of the academy for a detail at Christmas time. We were put downtown on foot beats, the whole academy class.
Wow.
We were issued the service revolvers. We were sworn in, and so we worked down there for about, I think it was about 2.5 weeks, something like that. And then we came back and finished our classes and graduated. But
Yeah.
that was a great experience. I mean, you're going out on the street, and they put you out there sometimes alone. It wasn't like a 2 officer beat. You'd be out there, and
Yeah, I mean, they probably needed you, so they're like, "Hey, we got this class full of guys. Get them out of here."
Oh yeah, they took you right out of the academy, put you out on the street. So it was fun.
That is cool. And that whole thing about being broken in by a salty dog, that's the way it's been forever. This whole. I mean, I'm not poo-pooing field training. It's great, but we didn't always have those niceties, and there's very traditional agencies out there that still run that model. You just get put with a salty guy, but a good officer. You don't get put with the disgruntled guy that hates the chief and wants to the place to burn. You get put with a guy that knows what he's doing, but a guy that cares. He doesn't have to go to the fancy 40-hour FTO instructor school.
Exactly, and the patrol wagons were the key. In Philadelphia at the time, we had the city was broken up into districts, police districts, and then sectors. Of course, were broken down, and then depending on the size of the district, you could have anywhere from 4 to 6, 7, 8. I think up at the 14th, they had 8 police wagons. And
what does that mean, Mike? A wagon?
It was mandatory 2 officers at all times, and they would handle the disturbance house calls. They would handle the fight on the highways. Back in the day, we would handle what we called hospital cases, where we would actually pull out a stretcher and put somebody on it and quickly run them.
Okay, yeah. Up here, they call it like a 2-man trouble car. You handle kind of
They were Ford Econoline vans, and I'll be honest with you, this incident in Minneapolis, I think that could have changed the course of that event as a patrol wagon. I mean, they waited, it was about 12, 13 minutes. I seen the whole video. They tried to get him in a car, which was impossible.
Yeah. And too big a dude, didn't want to go.
I mean, when I was a sergeant, the first thing after I evaluated something, I said, get him in the wagon, get him out of here. Clear the scene. You know what I mean?
You do not want to remain in the public eye doing that stuff for a long time. It's bad.
Yeah.
Just get them to booking.
They've been doing away with them. Yeah. In Philly, at least. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, they used to have, I remember on the Cape, places had paddy wagons.
Paddy wagons. That's exactly
racist.
What they were.
But it's racist against the Irish, so it's okay. But they're called paddy wagons, and big events, they would load the youth up in there.
Yeah.
But they're useful. They got rid of all of them.
Yeah, I don't know why. I can't understand why. They're a great tool. They're a great tool to have. You could have had a problem in a district or somewhere, and you load them up with. You could put 8 officers in the back, 2 in the front. You got 10 cops instantly anywhere you needed them.
Hell yeah.
But I don't know.
Well, I guess wiser people took over and changed things.
Exactly.
They knew better.
That's right.
All right, Mike.
Yes.
Can you tell us about a strange or bizarre thing you dealt with? Maybe the most strange or bizarre thing.
Well, yeah, it's kind of bizarre. I was a part of the bicentennial celebration. We were detailed 1976 in Philadelphia. That was it. That's where it all started. So.
That must have been a party and a half.
Oh, that is the most people I've ever seen in Philadelphia. I mean, you got lost in the crowd. It was that heavy, So they had a big state dinner out at the Art Museum. So the Queen of England actually comes up on the royal yacht up the Delaware River, gets off from Penn's Landing.
Doesn't seem like something the Queen would want to come to, does it?
I know, especially they lost the war too. I don't know,
right.
But she didn't hold a grudge.
Yeah, here she comes.
Here she comes. So they're pulling up. We're all detailed up at the Art Museum. It's a beautiful, beautiful, large structure out on the Parkway, and they were holding a state dinner. So every cop in the city was in uniform except for detectives. They're milling in the crowd, infiltrating, things of that nature. And her limousine pulls up. She gets out. She waves to the crowd, and naturally everybody's facing her. And next thing you know, we hear multiple gunshots, which sounded to be gunshots behind us.
Ooh.
It was about 600 cops unholster and turn their weapons around. Here it was fireworks. That it was a typical FUBAR, that it never got down to the line troops, that they were going to do the fireworks when the Queen was going to walk up the steps.
Oh,
Now,
wow.
guys I worked with that were up on the steps closer, they said they heard a couple oohs and ahs from the Queen. Apparently she liked the fireworks, but I don't know. That could be just a rumor. Who
Yeah, well,
knows?
hopefully she didn't notice all the coppers,
No.
skinning their smoke wagons.
Oh my god. But I mean that was kind of humorous. Not at the time, but afterwards. They should have
Absolutely.
let us know that they were going to do that. Let's put it this way.
Yeah. Yeah. Like we said before, that the higher ups are always making the right decisions. So
Oh my gosh,
they know
they
what they're
forget
doing.
to tell the troops.
Yeah. Yeah. Great idea. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Mike, can we get into the most intense or terrifying moment you had on the job?
Uh, let's see. I would say working South Philly at Sergeant, and again in a housing project. They were low rise housing at the time, and I'm signing officer's log, car to car. I signed a log, and around the corner, these were like 1,000 units, of low rise buildings, and they
Oh,
had
wow.
canyons there. And around the corner, we hear gunshots, so naturally drop it into drive, and around we go. And we see this gentleman firing in one direction, and he happens to notice the cars and turns and fires on us. So
Ooh.
we dive below the dashboard and kind of just wait it out a little bit, put it in reverse and back up.
What's he
After
shooting
a
you at?
while,
What is he using to shoot at you?
it was automatic, looked like a 9 millimeter, probably about 7 6 7 shots, somewhere around there.
Okay.
So we get out, we peek over the dashboard a little bit here,
Oh,
and we see that he made his way out of the area. We get out and check the police cars. Luckily, he didn't hit us. He wasn't that great of a shot, and we didn't even put it out over the air, to be honest with you, because it would have caused more problems than it would have solved. We knew we were going to catch this guy, so but the way he turned on us, it was pretty scary, because we thought, he's got us. He had a dead shot at us, but luckily he missed. He wasn't that great of a shot.
a, ci-
So
a
we
city
just
so
resumed
intense you didn't
patrol.
even report it. Oh my.
We didn't put it out over the air, because believe me, this area, once you got the ball rolling, it was a problem. And they had a steady detail down there for years and years. I mean, around the clock detail, just to keep the peace. So we knew better to put it out over the air.
That's
Just
really
no harm, no
interesting.
foul. No harm, no foul.
Very generous of you guys. Yeah, because so basically what would have happened is cavalry would have poured in, and then
Exactly.
it would have been like kicking the beehive for the next week. It would have been.
Exactly what it would happen. That's right. So that was one of them. Let's put it this way. There were other. We got shot and serving a warrant, and a guy shooting up through the basement floor at us with a rifle.
Yeah. So what's the story on that one?
Well, we hit the warrant, and we hit the door, and in we go. And next thing you know, there's wood chips flying up. We hear the gunshots. We get down on the floor, try to hug the wall, and we were able to peek at an angle down the steps, and we spotted him that the gun jammed. He's trying to. It was a bolt action, and I don't know if it didn't eject or he couldn't eject it. So we kind of bum rushed him right down the steps, tumbled down the steps, and you know disarmed him and cuffed him. That was that was pretty scary. One other one I can remember, which wasn't funny at the time, but now it is. Serving a warrant. Uh, we go to serve the warrant. We pull up on the house, and we have the arrest warrant. We got a search warrant, and the wife is on the front steps. We made a buy off this guy, and we said, where's Charlie? He's always around the store. He's getting some groceries. So we had this old beat up van, and we had our SWAT team was in the back. We go around to get him. He's coming out of the store, little guy, and out we jump. Charlie, we had some bad news. We got an arrest warrant for you. Well, he had a gun down his belt, so he goes to pull it, which was a mistake because there's 3 shotguns and a couple 357s on them, and so we talk him out of that and put him in a truck, take him back. So we got him cuffed, and he was a meth dealer, and a lot of the meth people, they like to keep a clean house. I'll tell you, they're up all night. They like to do things, so they clean a house.
They're tweaking.
This was one of the cleanest drug houses I've ever been in. I'll tell you, everything was in order. So down the basement we go, and he's got an ammo can, and he's cuffed, and we're taking him around doing the search. And I go to open the ammo can, and he ducks his head real fast.
Oh.
And I'm going, whoa. So I back away, and we go, whoa, what's going on here? He goes, I got it wired up. He had a bomb in there, but he was keeping his drugs and his money in there. And I'm going, well, that doesn't sound right. I mean, you're going to blow everything up. So we had to back everybody away, get the bomb squad in. And sure enough, it was wired. He had it wired. And, but had he not made that move, I might not have been here, or they'd have been calling me Lefty. I don't know, one or the other.
So he had a certain way to open it where he wouldn't.
He knew how to open it, of course. Yeah, he knew how to open it. But if somebody else were to open that, it was going to go.
Wow.
So they took it out. The bomb squad came in. They took it out. They put it in the pod and took it up to the academy and blew it up.
That's insane, Mike. Did you lose some sleep over that? That would kind of haunt me.
Yeah, it was kind of freaky, at the time. I mean, when he made the move, I'm saying something's not right here. Whoa, wait a minute.
Yeah, it'd be kind of hard not to punch that guy right in the face. Damn, man.
Yeah, it was an adventure. Let's put it that way. It was an adventure.
Yeah, crazy meth head. He's up all night rigging his house, scrubbing walls.
Rigging the house. But he did keep a clean house. I have to say that for him. I'll tell you, he did keep a clean house.
Right. You would have got your blood all over it. He would have been so pissed.
That's right.
So you said you had some buys into him. When you were working drugs, how many buys did your DA want to see before they did something?
Well, each buy was in Pennsylvania is a felony, a hand-to-hand buy, delivery of a controlled substance. It's a felony. And like I said, what we would do is we would go out and do a campaign of maybe, who knows, 50, 60 buys in a certain area and let them ride. We'd identify them later and then secure the arrest warrant and put it in the folders. And then we'd make a sweep, take out search warrants and go make the arrest. Bring them in and then try to work them for information. Who's the next guy up the ladder, is what we were trying to do, basically.
Right.
And, some of them, some of them worked out. I would say, not a lot, 20% maybe, but
20% flip.
A good arrest works off of information. I mean, you get lucky sometimes. You run across a hold up in progress, or you run across something, but long-term investigation, you live off of information, basically.
Yeah, I asked that question because I'm thinking I had buddies on the drug task force at my old department, and I think this might make more sense. I think the DA wanted 3 buys into a dealer before they wanted to make the case the most solid, to make sure he's dealing. And right. I didn't know if that's like Mass is pretty liberal. So I didn't know if that was a Mass thing, a modern thing. They're like, they want 3 different buys, or is that always been a rule of thumb?
Nah. Well, you got to remember, this was the 70s and 80s. I mean, I went through in the 80s was the crack epidemic, and down there they made a buy. That was a felony. Make the arrest.
Good enough.
Hopefully you can make a couple other arrests from this guy, but and sometimes they would work them too. They'd say, you're a felony, you're going away for 5 years, which was a joke. They weren't, but
right.
They would try to work them and say, look, we'll reduce it down. We'll give you a probation if you give up, where you're getting your stuff from, things of that nature. But
yeah, now in Massachusetts, you friggin' attempted murder, you're out in 2 years. It's like,
forget
about drugs. They don't care at all. It's like, it's crazy. So Did you work in the era of GPS at all?
No, as a matter of fact,
You would have loved that.
I just at the end they were coming in with the handheld video cameras. Towards the end of my career, they were starting to come out with those, but now I was in the dark, so to speak, technologically back then.
Yeah, well, you're a cowboy. You're doing it the old school way. But now it's like, to me, it's pretty amazing how I think the courts award GPS warrants like they're pretty easy to get. And yeah, they don't. You don't need all that much, and you're tracking somebody's movements all the time. And because like I said, I was friends on the drug task force, and they just had a laptop, and they would, be working on the back of our station, and they would pop up the laptop, and you just like you get a couple routes of like cities and neighborhoods where drugs are prevalent. It's you can kind of like they're going here and they're dropping off, going here, dropping off. You can kind of make a little timeline and story of where they're going, and right when to hit them, because they're going to New Bedford and they're on their way home. Why did they go up there? Well, New Bedford's a huge hub for heroin, so they're coming back. And I also get a kick out of the state guys, or the guys that put the GPSs on. So they'll come into town or the city you work in at like 3 a.m. and they sneak out, and then it's funny because the guys that do it are like, yeah, and he goes, we get caught. You know what I mean? He's like, well, someone will come out or turn a light on, and we just run into the woods because we're like, because they'll blow the whole thing. And then another thing that pops up with these GPSs is mechanics find them. The guy goes get his oil changed, and he goes, hey, what is this thing? Or, whatever. Some of them know better. And if they're police friendly, they'll just let us know that they saw it and not tell the person. But that's another thing that I thought was interesting, where they're like, hey, what is this thing? And the guy's like, well, rip it off. I don't know. This is my car. What is that thing? And then immediately the bad guy's like, oh, I'm screwed. They've been tracking me.
Yeah.
But the GPS warrants, man, the GPS tracking devices, it doesn't take all that much, and you get them on these vehicles, and it really helps the case out.
Yeah. Oh, I could see how it would. Definitely. And I would think, even nowadays, I just bought a new car, and all the new gadgets on there, I would think that there's probably a chip in there where they wouldn't even have to put a GPS in.
You would think so, right? They just get permission from the manufacturer to turn something on, and
sure, it's like the old wiretaps. You'd go to the phone company, but nowadays, it's a different ball game. I mean, with the satellite can track you anywhere you want to go.
Absolutely, yeah, we do it all the time for suicidal people in danger. Silver alerts for older people. You can just fill out the form to a Verizon or AT&T and say, hey, we need to ping this person for this reason, and and before you know it, they're giving you locations on triangulating and all that stuff. So it's you're not. It's like they say. You're not getting any of these apps and GPS for free. The fact that you have a smartphone means that you're going to be tracked at some point. Whether might not be the police, but they're going to track you for advertisements.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's a great idea for prevention of abducted children. I would think there is probably a device where you could, like a wristwatch or something, or a little necklace that you.
Hell yeah.
And I think that's a great idea. I mean, geez, these little kids.
Yep. They actually make a little, like a watch like that we looked at that for when we were living in Southern California in those big populated cities where like kids were being snatched and brought to Mexico.
Yeah.
We were looking into GPS, and now my daughter is 12, my oldest child. Yeah. And we were kind of on the fence. She just recently got a cell phone. We weren't wild about giving it to her because we really don't want her. We're not letting her glue her face to the screen and be on the thing, like
exactly
so many people. It's for limited use. But the main thing I liked about it, and I told her, I said, "Well, we can track where you are, and if you don't think I'll take that phone out of your hand and look at all your messages whenever I want, you're crazy, because I will do that." And she was like, "Oh, whatever it takes. I just want a phone." She signed her life away.
Made a deal, right?
Exactly. Just give me the
Made a
phone.
deal.
We'll see what it's like when she's 16. The thing will be locked up somewhere. I'll never know where it is.
That's right. The burner phones. Is that what they call them now?
She'll
The
have
burner phones?
she'll have a flip phone like yours, Mike.
That's right.
It's so funny. Mike and I were a little pre-conference before the interview, and I was asking him about headphones and whatever, and I always try to optimize audio, and ended up fine. It sounds great. But he goes, "See, just let me show you what you're working with," and he holds up a flip phone. I go, oh, "That's enough said. Let's get started here."
That's right.
I respect it. I like it. I had a buddy who was he hung on to his flip phone for a long time. He just got a smartphone a couple years ago, but I really respected it. I said, wow, good for you. Yeah. He's writing a text message. He's like writing 1,000, because you have to hit the button so many times.
I'm confused enough as it is, Steve, without, putting more.
Fight it as long as you can, Mike.
That's right. I'm hanging in.
Hanging in. But let me tell you, if you get a smartphone, you probably, like my dad fought it forever. And then when he got one, and when you get grandkids and all that stuff, all of a sudden you can get these beautiful photos and all that stuff. It kind of softens you to it. But
well, the wife has one. We use hers for that.
Perfect. There you go. Bam, off the hook.
There you go.
So Mike, can you tell us about a positive or heartwarming situation? Is there anything like that in your career?
Yeah, actually, I actually delivered a baby while driving a car.
No way.
I'm in the wagon again, emergency patrol wagon, and right in front of us, we're at an intersection, and this car just blows right through. So we hit the lights and sirens, we pulled over, and we get up there, and here it's an older gentleman, and he's driving the car. He's nervous as heck, and there's a pregnant lady in the back seat. It turns out to be his granddaughter. So
wow.
I got to get her to the hospital. Oh my God. I said, all right, move over. I push him over. I get behind the wheel, and my partner hits the lights and sirens. He clears the way to the hospital. So the girl in the back,
you took his car.
Took his car.
I love it. Yeah, taking control.
It's
great.
Commandeered him. And so she's in the back, and she's starting to scream. So I got a left hand on the wheel, and I put the right hand and the right arm behind the seat, trying to console her a little bit. Hit a pothole, and the next thing I know, I'm going, "Oh my God, what is that?" That was the baby.
Wow.
So luckily, we're only a couple blocks out from the hospital, and then we radioed Ed, what we're coming in with, and the nurses and everybody met us out there. So thank God everybody was. But I said, who said you can't do two things at once?
Let me grab that baby. There we go.
That's right. Drive a car, deliver a baby. What's a big deal?
Oh my! What, guys are passing out because I'm driving a car. That's unbelievable. So, was this her first baby?
I think it may have been. Yeah, I think it may have been. But the grandfather, I don't know what the story was at home. I guess she was at his house and she went into labor, and he just threw her in the car. But
was the baby named Michael?
I can't say for sure, but that might have been a possibility.
Damn, that's crazy. Well, you're in the right seat. You don't want to be back there when it's happening. You want to be up front. No, definitely. Yeah.
But it all turned out. It all worked out in the end. I like a happy ending.
Thank goodness. Did you ever hear from her?
Nah, I can't say that I did. We went in there, got cleaned up, and they took her into the delivery room, and that was it. We resumed patrol. We kind of got the information, made the report, and resumed patrol.
I have to tell you, Mike, when they showed us the birthing video in Police Academy, I was just all any of us could think was, please let this never happen to me. Please never let me be in an elevator or during a snowstorm or a hurricane or something where I'm the guy. And and they tell you like they're the advice they give you in the video too is like, tell the woman you're going to look and observe and you're looking for the bloody show. It's like, I'm gonna tell her that this is gonna come on.
That's not a good idea. Right?
Yeah, I'm looking for the bloody show, man. The blood show. It's like a technical term for when the labor's starting.
Right.
Oh my gosh. God bless you, Mike. That's incredible.
Yeah. Yes. You should just tell her it's all unicorns and rainbows. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, your body knows what to do. Let it rip. I'll be over here.
That's right.
I'll be behind you.
That's
Damn.
for sure.
That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Well, that was a pretty interesting, situation.
Yeah, I mean,
Happy.
it goes to show you. One day you're getting shot through the floor at by some guy with a rifle.
Yeah.
And he tries to blow your hand off with a booby trap, and then the next day you're rushing a woman to a hospital to have a baby. I mean, police work is
That's right.
It's
Police.
You never know.
The greatest show on earth, right, Steve? It's the badge is the ticket to the greatest show on earth. They say.
Yes, I used to have a friend that I worked at the town near me that I'd meet up with once in a while, and he always inspired me because he'd always say, "Isn't this the greatest job in the world?" He's like, "Can you imagine doing a different job?" And I would, like anybody else, I would get in a rut and be like, kind of, you get, it wears on you. But whenever he said that, it always kind of lifted me up and be like, he's right. It's just always something new.
There was always something different. I mean, it was routine. You used to say it was like 98% boredom, 2% sheer terror, and the other
Right.
half. And the other half was bullshit, right?
Yep, absolutely. That's funny. That's exactly how I met a game warden from Maine once, and these guys, we call them the real wardens. These guys are, I mean, they dropped them off by helicopter in the woods. These guys are hardcore, and that's what he said. He said 98% of my job, I'm bored out of my mind. 2% of the time, I'm scared out of my mind.
Yes, exactly.
They're up there working the Canadian border. They get things coming over that are in. I mean, people are filling moose carcasses with coke and dragging them over on a snowmobile.
Sure.
Crazy stuff.
I can imagine. I can only imagine. You couldn't make those stories up. Some of the things they say. Probably.
Absolutely. Awesome. So, one of the most popular questions we have on the show. We have a lot of listeners that are younger police officers, or they're candidates, or recruits. They're just starting academy, or they're trying to become police. A lot of people listen to your guys' stories, believe it or not. I get emails, and these interviews that you guys give inspire them further to actually pull the trigger on being police officers. So, which I think is wonderful because we need it. Do you have some advice, Mike, that you could impart on young officers just getting into the profession?
Yeah, I know things are tense out there. I mean, with all this anti-police sentiment and things of this nature, and I watch a lot of these videos on TV of these shooting incidents that occur. Like I said, they took away some of the tools. We used to carry a nightstick, was mandatory. You get out of the car, you had your nightstick. In Philadelphia, we also had a blackjack. It was actually, I don't know if you ever seen one. You probably did, but
we never carried them, but I've seen them.
Yeah, and I mean they were useful in a tight situation. They were useful, and the wagons, of course. But it seems that when we watch, I'll sit around and we'll watch with my buddies and stuff like that, and it seems like the force continuum goes very quickly on these situations. And I would advise them is try to talk to these people. I know it's not easy to do, and it can't be done universally in every situation. But if there's a way of de-escalating, it's talking to them. Try to get something in common, whatever it is. The ball game. What do you eat? What do you like to eat? I got a hat like that at home. Whatever it is, try to get their first name. Call them their first name multiple times. Just try to de-escalate it. And again, I know it's tough to do. I know people pull a gun on you. Well, you're pretty close to it, and it's tough to talk them down. But sometimes people just see that badge, that uniform, and that gun. That's all they see. They don't realize there's a person behind there. There's an actual human, and we're all human. Everybody makes mistakes, but I work with guys that could talk people just
Talk a cat
amazing
off
what
a
they
fish
can
truck.
do. Oh, I mean, it just amazing, and uh, but that's my advice. That's my advice is try to go in there and if you can, and I know it's not easy, and I don't. I got a lot of respect for these young guys today out there, guys and girls that are doing this job. It's a tough job, and you don't. I had backup. That was the one thing we had back in my day. We had backup. We had backup from each other, and we had backup from our leaders. We had a mayor that was a police commissioner, and a mayor that backed us up.
Yeah,
Uh, and these officers today, they got it tough. Believe on both ends. Who they meet on the street and people behind them. So
absolutely.
yeah,
That's a great point, Mike, because 9 out of 10 people might tell you to go F yourself, or you build it. They might not, but there is certain people who are actually looking for someone to relate to them,
exactly.
and they will hear the police officer, and you'll know right away because they'll take it. They'll take not the bait, but they'll take the opportunity to let you de-escalate them, because some people are looking for that, just some understanding, because that could make the difference between suicide by cop and not doing that.
That's exactly right. Yes, yes. And the other thing too is when you're out on the street, you don't have to wait for a situation to happen. I mean, this goes to community policing, but hey, you never know. I mean, I remember going to lunch in a diner, and there was this guy that he had a little bit of a he had a head injury and he was on disability, and I mean. But I would talk to him, I would talk to him, and my partner would go, "What are you talking to this guy for?" I don't know. He's a couple fries short. I said,
Right.
you never know. You never know. He might flip his lid one day, and he might go after you, and he might say, "Hey, I'm not going to go after you because you were nice to me."
Right, exactly.
And sure enough, we got a call. One day, he flipped in the diner and he held a knife to one of the cooks' throats, and we got the call. And I was able to talk him into the back of the wagon because he remembered. And I'm just saying, that don't
Damn,
happen
that's a
every
great
time,
story. Wow.
but it worked. You know what I'm saying? He remembered. He goes, "Yeah, I remember. You always talk to me." So talk to people beforehand. You never know what
Absolutely.
they remember. They might remember, yeah, that guy was a nice guy. I remember that guy that one day. He was a nice guy to me.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, you never.
It's
But
like Dane Cook used to have a comedy. One of his jokes was he would always bring he brought a Snickers bar or something to the office weirdo. He gave him a present on the
yeah,
holidays, and he goes, because when the guy goes crazy and he comes to my cubicle with the 12 gauge, he's going to go, that guy bought me a Snickers, and
there
skip
you
over
go.
me and shoot everybody else.
that that's the theory behind it.
Yeah, that's great, Mike. Awesome. Hey, thank you so much for coming on. This has been an awesome interview. I really enjoyed it. Can you tell us a little bit about the Long Last Out?
Yeah, thank you, Steve. I appreciate that.
Of course.
Uh, yeah, well, I'm 72 years old. I came up with the premise about 8 years ago, and it's a unique premise. Believe me, I've looked, and there's not much out there compared to this premise. And at the time, I wrote one chapter and I put it away, and then about 2 years ago, or 3 years ago, our first granddaughter was born, our only granddaughter, and she kind of inspired me. So I picked it up again and I started writing it. And took me about 2 years to write the book.
Wow.
And even though it has humorous police incidents in it, it's much more than just another cop story. I mean, it's definitely more than a cop story. It's loosely based on two actual incidents that occurred within the city of Philadelphia in the past. And I can't tell you what they are because I'd be giving you a little spoiler, but
Right.
I wanted to pique your interest. It's set in the 1980s and 90s. It has a little bit of science fiction in it, but it was fiction back then in the 80s and 90s, not so much so today, you
Yeah.
know. And it's a story about friendship and the unique bonds formed between officers and their families. And Funny thing, when I started, I didn't know how to write. I mean, I wrote thousands of investigative reports,
Sure.
but that's kind of different than a fictional novel. I looked up how to write, and I come across a screenplay. It gave me advice on writing a screenplay. So I didn't want to write a screenplay, but it said something like this. It said, if you want to have a successful story, you have to leave the audience laughing in the aisle, crying in the aisles, cheering in the aisles, and smiling in the aisles, and put a dog in it. So I did.
That's awesome. I love it.
So basically, that's what it is. I used a lot of the officers I worked with across the years. They're the characters. One guy in particular, one of the main characters was a officer I worked with, a great guy, and he's the voice of my main character, Tommy Tabbs, and it just it's a I don't know. It was a great experience for me, and I'm getting some great reviews. I got a 4.7 out of 5-star rating on Amazon with it.
I looked it up. It's got a buttload of 5-star reviews. It's
Yeah,
doing quite well, man. What's so cool about it too is we were talking about this before the interview. I love a novel. Like it's a crime novel. It's not just a compiling your story crazy stories over the years is very cool too. But this is a
yes, little
little different. It's a novel. Like you really came at it like a writer.
exactly. It is definitely a fictional novel. It's not another cop war story book. I mean, it has some funny stories in it. Most of them actually happened, but I fictionalized them, to kind of
Sure.
fit the plot and everything of that nature. Um, I had a gentleman, Mr. William Fleischer. He was a former Philadelphia police officer, and he was a former FBI agent. And he formed I think I sent you this, the Vidoc Society, VIDOCQ.
Yes, that's fascinating.
He loved the book. He said, Mike, it put me back in the wagon. He says, I worked the wagon. That was the best days of my life. He goes, I worked the wagon. And he invited me to the society's meeting. And this was unbelievable experience, Steve. They're a group of world renowned law enforcement, forensic scientists, and they have a meeting once a month, and any department in the United States can present a cold case to them, and they offer tips or they offer suggestions at this
That's
meeting.
so cool.
Oh, it was unbelievable. I went to one. I can't tell you the case because of the confidentiality, but
Sure.
they offered tips that these investigators, you could see it in their eyes. Oh yeah, why? Yeah, I didn't think of that. Why didn't we think of?
Yeah. Oh, it's always good to get outside eyes on, especially trained
Oh,
people.
it was really unbelievable, and it was held in a building in Philadelphia called the Union League. It goes back to the 1860s. It's like a cathedral. It's just you walk in there, it's like a cathedral of American history in this building. It's just amazing.
Isn't it
But
cool?
it was good. It was very good.
Aren't you glad you decided to write this book, Mike? I mean, as
I
big of a
am.
pain in the ass it probably was, you wrote a chapter, you put it away, you came back to it. It
Man.
opens doors for you.
I loved it. I mean, I loved it. It's just, it's great. I got to meet great people, yourself included. I mean, you've been very nice to me, and I can't
Of
thank you
course.
enough for having me on your show. It really means a lot to me.
I'm honored to have you on, Mike. It's great. And yeah, like me doing the podcast, I started doing it a couple of years ago. All
Yeah,
kinds of doors have opened. I've got to hang out with guys like great cops like you, guys that vets that have done it all these years, share their stories.
yeah,
I'm so happy I decided to do it. It's like
yeah,
it's kind of a pain. It's a labor of love. It's like,
yeah.
sometimes you're tired. I mean, sure, the book was much harder to do than the podcast. Writing a book's tough, but you did it. It's awesome.
Yeah, yeah. It's been a lot of fun, and it really has. It really has been a lot great time. I would when the book came out. It came out in March, and I decided to donate the first 6 months to an organization called the Families Behind the Badge Children's Foundation.
Oh, that's
They run,
wonderful.
yeah, it's out of Philadelphia. They run a bike tour between the Ben Franklin Bridge and Atlantic City. This has been their 34th year this year, and they offer, what they do is they offer or supply immediate cash grants to any officer, firefighter, or first responder seriously injured or killed in the line of duty in the Philadelphia and South Jersey area. So they raise a lot of money, and they've been around a long time, and it was my pleasure to do it. I'll tell you honestly.
Oh, it's beautiful, Mike.
Yeah.
That's so great. I love it. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Very, very cool. So you have another one in you. Are you writing another book?
Well, I got some ideas. I got some ideas. I don't know yet. I'll tell you, the hardest part of this process was not writing the book, not editing the book, is trying to sell the book.
I know.
It's the hardest part.
Guys struggle with that, where it's like, now it's time to pimp yourself out, to really get out there and sell it. It's like no one wants to do it. They're like,
I know.
You know, well, I read some of your reviews, and they're fantastic. I mean, it looks amazing. I'm definitely gonna have to read this book. It looks really great. And you're doing something else that I think is really really cool on Facebook. You have your daughter-in-law, you said, helping you. She's helping to modernize you. Perhaps perhaps she'll rip that flip phone out of your hand at some point. But if you go on Facebook, if you want to get to know Mike and belong to the community around the book, it's thebookrookie.com. Now, it's thebookrookie.com on Facebook. Thebookrookie.com actually does not exist yet. He owns it.
Website? No.
He owns the rights to it, but the bookrookie.com Facebook page.
Exactly. I have a couple good stories up there, and
tell them what do you do on the page to you kind of entertain people. I think it's really neat.
I do. Yeah, I'll tell them a story. For instance, the last story I wrote was me and the Irish Mafia went down the coal mine over here in Lansford, and so I give them a little glimpse of what it was like back in the days of the coal miners. You think we had a tough job? They had a really tough job, I'll tell you. These guys, but
hell yeah.
I give them a little story. You know,
it's awesome.
And I love it. At the end, I tweak them a little bit. I said, maybe this story might be in my book. I don't know. Why don't you check it out?
Right. Yeah. I'm joining because I'm friends with a couple authors online, and like I was telling you, their Facebook posts are the best because they just know how to word things. They know how to write.
Yeah.
That's cool. Awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, check him out. Check out thebookrookie.com if you want to get involved in the community around the book. And the book is The Long Last Out, Michael E. Riley. It's been an honor and a pleasure, sir. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thank you, Steve. I really appreciate what you've done for me. You're doing a great job. You're bringing insight into what police officers go through out there on the street, and you're doing a great job. I really appreciate that, sir.
Oh, I thank you, Mike. That makes doing the job better. Hearing people say that and appreciating the podcast. Yeah. I truly appreciate it. Let me do the outro. Keep you on the line, and I'll come back to you. Does that sound okay?
Oh, very good, sir.
Great. Hey guys, that's episode number 85. Michael Riley. Great stories. So happy to finally get a Philly guy on. Hell of a city. Crazy stories. Awesome book. Check him out. Guys, thank you for rating and reviewing the podcast. We're up over 530 reviews, which helps get eyes on the podcast, helps guys like Mike find the podcast and want to come on and share their stories and everything else they're doing. So thank you. Please go and do that. If you want to support the podcast, thingspleasesee.com. You can go to donate. I really appreciate that. We're up to 12 monthly donors now, which I so appreciate. Thank you for that. Mostly just pays for upkeep and different subscriptions I have to have the podcast running. Also randomly buys me lunch when I'm on extra work. Like today I had to detail a road detail, and I bought Subway with the money that you guys donate. So thank you. It feeds me at times. So I truly appreciate any amount that you can give. And if you can't give, also totally fine. The whole point of the podcast is just to get these guys and gals stories out there to get you guys to, really get to see what they go through and to just get an appreciation for police work in general and what they're doing. So I'm just glad you're here. I'm glad you're listening. The sponsor of the show, LifeSpotApp.com, owned by former guest Brett Titus. Incredible product. I really encourage you to go to the website and check it out and to reach out to Brett if you have any questions. So beyond that, guys, that's episode number 85. Thank you for joining me, and I'll see you guys next time. That's the intro. There we go.